It's Monday morning, Karen, technically for the next few minutes. It's still Monday morning for the next 19 minutes.
Cut it close there, Kyle.
By the time everyone listens to this, it won't be Monday morning. So do we need to change the name of this podcast?
It's just COVID land. It's just whatever. We can say morning in the nighttime.
It's the Monday Morning Mechanic Podcast. It is Monday morning, and we're going to be talking about Supercross for round 11. It was in Salt Lake City yesterday on Sunday. It was totally unprecedented. We've never had a Supercross on Sunday. We've never had a Supercross with no fans. They took 85 days off racing. There was dry dirt in Salt Lake City for some dumb reason. Like they had enough water down in the heats, and they had enough water down on the 250 main, but in the 450 main, it completely dried out. It was a day race. There was no mechanics behind the starting gates. There's no opening ceremony. There's no fireworks.
It was hot.
But at the same time, it was no different because our top three riders in the 450 and really in the 250 still take the top three spots. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. The best riders, the cream still rises to the top. It was crazy. So we were super excited to watch racing again yesterday at the Brotherson house. It was exciting. It was fun. It was exhilarating. It was all those things, and it felt like...
It got loud a couple of times. We had the popcorn and chips and salsa.
Yeah, it was fun. But I would say overall, and Karen, I wanted to get your opinion of this. If I just had to grade... And I'm not even talking about like any of the COVID stuff or the fact that there were no people in the stands, because by the time the racing starts, you're not looking at the people in the stands. You're watching it on TV. You're just watching what's happening. Overall, I kind of thought the day was a little bit boring. It wasn't super exciting racing because there wasn't a lot of passing going on.
We only got loud like twice, which is not normal. We usually get loud a whole bunch of times, and then somebody loses their voice and they can't speak for the next few hours. But yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't a ton of passing in the top five. There was a little bit of passing in the 450 main. Weird enough, the 450 main was where all the excitement was because it didn't happen anywhere else, which is unusual. Normally it happens, there's a ton of excitement in like the 250 main.
Yeah.
There was no excitement in 250 main. And in the heat races, there was basically no excitement. I will get into a couple things that happened in the 450 main, but was it a little bit weird for you that way?
I think so. I think it was just a little more comfortable or easy. They weren't maybe pushing themselves as hard as normal. Because the dirt was so dry, the riders and the announcers kept saying how slippery it was, and that would be really tough, you know.
I don't think, because in the heat races it wasn't dry, it was wet. They were muddy in the heat races, you know, in the corners. So I think the reason why it was basically
like saying that the dirt was slippery no matter how
it's slick, but
wet
it was super dusty. By the time the 450 main came around, it was just like dust bomb.
Yeah,
it looked like me going out there riding with my buddies here in Utah, where it's just like dust city. It was all over. It's not Salt Lake City, it's Dust Lake City. In that race, I hope that they're able to figure that one out a little bit better, because I feel like they did a pretty good job in the first part of the events, in the heat races and the last chance qualifiers and stuff, and it wasn't that bad in the 250 main. But they're just, I don't know, it didn't seem like enough water got put down for the 450, and then it was just super dusty. We understand it's going to be a little bit slick, but why do we have to have dust? You've got the water trucks right here. You were able to control it all day long. So I think there's room for improvement there. The other thing that there's room for improvement on is just they were doing like 42-second lap times or something. And so they had
22 or 23 laps.
Yeah, no, it was like 29 laps. I was writing it down. We were listening to that. It was who
like
was
the Riders Tell All.
Yeah, the Rider Tell All.
It was
thing.
Malcolm Stewart.
Malcolm Stewart. He said that they did like 29 laps, which is just way too much. That's just too much.
Yeah.
29 laps. So I think the reason why it was, if the excitement level was a little bit down because there wasn't a lot of passing, I think it's because the track was too fast. I think it was like a 42-second lap time or something. That's the shortest lap ever. So you're doing Rice Eccles, which is a small stadium anyway, and then I just think the lap times were too fast. It just wasn't challenging enough. And obviously, it'll be cool to see what they come up with the next few weeks, And you gotta have a little bit of mix of everything, but hopefully we get some tracks that the lap times are more around a minute.
Yeah.
Because I think that will make for more interesting racing, and that would be better for everyone. So that track, like literally, it couldn't have worked out more perfect for Tomac. Tomac is a balls to the wall flying guy. He's going to go out there and he's going to rip, and he's already used to training at altitude and practicing at altitude and racing at altitude more than anyone else. And then the track was, I shouldn't say fast and easy, but it just kind of felt like that. Whether it was easy, I don't know. I'm not a rider. But when you're doing a 42-second lap time, that means the speeds are super high.
Yeah. Short
Short track or super high speeds. So that was interesting. Not a ton of passing, So, and then, so let's get into the 250s. I think that's kind of like sets the table there. So what did you notice in the 250s, Karen?
Shane McElrath. I like him. He shaved his head. He's a bald guy now.
I think that's good because Shane, his hair was pretty thin. And so Shane finally joined the club and got my same haircut. You didn't really get to see it much, but we did see like glimpses of it that he'd shaved it, and I think that's a good look.
Well, it was kind of funny during, I think it was the main. Yeah, because Shane and Chase, they were in two different heats for the qualifying rounds, right?
Yeah.
So when we got to the 250 main, I found myself just kind of cheering for Shane McElrath. And I've always liked him. He's never been like my super favorite, but I was cheering for him. And Kyle turns to me, he's like, wait, don't you like Chase anymore? I'm like, no, actually I like both of them. I don't care who wins. It's a win-win for me. And so I just realized how much I really was rooting for him. And I was glad that he won. He got the whole shot both times in the qualify and the main. And then he led every lap. And I thought that was great. He really was so happy about that, his face afterwards. But yeah.
Yeah, so the top five in the 250 main, it was number 1, Shane McElrath, 2, Chase Sexton, 3, Garrett Marchbanks, 4, Jeremy Martin, J. Martin, and then Pierce Brown rounded out the top 5, which is pretty cool because I don't remember. That's 2 guys from Salt Lake City. Garrett Marchbanks is out of Colville, or not Salt Lake City, but Garrett Marchbanks is out of Colville, Utah, and Pierce Brown is out of Sandy, Utah. So we had 2 Utah guys in the 250 the top 5.
Yeah.
I don't remember that happening since I've been paying attention.
Yeah.
So that was cool. It was their hometown race, and those guys are the lucky ones because they're literally going to be able to sleep in their own beds for the next 3 weeks, whereas no one else will. A lot of the other guys are renting houses or different, places in the surrounding area like Park City or wherever,
How far away is Colville from Salt Lake?
It's
because maybe Garrett will.
If you start talking, I'll find out.
If I start talking and make up, Chase Sexton, he was so great too, and Kyle was saying, looks like he's like really filling out, like his muscles are getting bigger. He's not like a little, typical Supercross guy. His muscles are filling out, and Kyle was like, wow, he's getting big. So. Yeah, that was kind of neat to see him growing up a little bit. Chase
is turning into a man. So Colville is only like 41 minutes from Rice-Eccles Stadium, so it's super close. It's it's maybe a little bit further than Park City, but not really much. So those guys are going to be able to sleep in their own beds, which is pretty cool. And I agree with Karen. I do like Shane McElrath. I like Chase Sexton as well. Chase Sexton, I think he needs maybe a somebody to help him with his attitude and maybe a little bit of his just interviewing and just his personality. I really like Chase, but I think he's got to work on his image just a little bit so he doesn't
both of those East and West Coast guys, their interviews, so
he doesn't come across kind of like so pissed off or butthurt or whatever. But I think he's going to get it. These are young kids, like they really are, and I that's one of the reasons I like watching Supercross is because you get to know them while they're young. If you take, say, Ken Roxon when he was 18 or 19, and then you look at him now, I can't even remember how old he is, 26, 27, 28, somewhere in there. It's really fun to kind of see him grow up. Yeah. And that's the same thing we're going to see with Chase Sexton. I have this feeling. Last year, Chase Sexton won his championship, but he won it only because I'm drawing a blank. Who was it that crashed out? I can't think of his name right now. And Karen's shaking her head.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Kawasaki boy. He races on the West Coast.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. This is how the podcast is going.
Oh.
He's the points. I think he's like.
I just had it in my head because I was talking about both on the East Coast and the West Coast.
Anyway.
Austin Faulkner. Yes, I did it.
Nice. So Chase Sexton basically only won the championship last year because Austin Faulkner crashed out and tore his ACL. And so that was how Chase Sexton won that championship last year. And he said he wasn't happy with it. And he wanted to come out and get one outright. And he may still be able to, but he's got to beat out Shane McElrath. And it's just kind of fun to watch them progress and watch them do their thing.
Yeah.
But I had this feeling yesterday. I tapped into my inner chi. I think Chase Sexton is going to be one of these guys that is probably going to have a good career. I think he's going to be able to kind of put it all together. He's still young, and I just see his body filling out, and I'm like, he has a. And it seems like he has the right mindset. That's why I'm saying he needs to maybe just work on his image just a little bit.
Get a coach.
Get an image coach or whatever. Also, and I think that would, help him a long ways. If he had a little bit more Adam C. and Cirillo in him, he could be really fun to watch.
He'd be everyone's favorite.
And really fun to cheer for. Jeremy Martin, we said Garrett Marchbanks got that third place. He won 85 days ago or 86 days ago in Daytona, and kind of shocked everyone. But he had a good ride. But third place is good. But he didn't come out on fire or anything. Jeremy Martin gets a fourth place. He's a great story. There wasn't really anything to talk about with him. And then Pierce Brown gets fifth. So it was like we mentioned at the first. Shane McElrath and Chase Sexton. Those are the guys that you would expect to be in the top two, and they were. So then moving on to the 450s, what did you think about the 450 class yesterday?
The 450s, my Kenny boy. That's always where it goes to.
So Eli Tomac is 1, Cooper Webb is number 2, Ken Roxon number 3, Jason Anderson 4, and then Zach Osborne rounds out the top 5. That's how it ended up finishing.
Yeah. It's interesting because Blake Baggett, he got the whole shot and he did really good. He had a great start. And then, what happened right after that? I can't even remember now. That was so long ago. Anyway, but Eli Tomac, he's, I don't know. We kind of thought that Eli Tomac would do what he had done in the past years where he's doing well and then he kind of falls back, or vice versa, where he's like the beginning of the season, he's kind of low and getting low points. And then he has to climb his way back out.
He's good as the hunter, but he hasn't shown that he's good as the hunted in Supercross.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. I feel like there's something different about him right now. So he's kind of putting things together, and maybe it's his dadhood. I don't know. Because he
became a father.
He became a father.
His dadhood?
His dadhood. Yeah. He's not really a father, like doing dad jokes and stuff yet, but he's changing, and I think that's good for him. He's still not my total favorite, but
if you could just block here's the thing. If I could give you selective amnesia and take away about 3 weeks of your memory from back in years past.
It's more than 3 weeks. Just saying.
Like what? Because you're right, and rightly so. You got really upset about how he handled the Dungey thing the last year that Dungey was racing. But if you take that away, what else do you have against him?
I've never really connected with his personality. I don't know why. He's a little more stone than personable. Like he's the opposite of AC, right?
Yep.
And so I don't really connect well to that for some reason for him. And then also, just calling the kettle black. It feels like he would get mad about things with Dungey or other riders and then turn around the next week or a couple weeks later and do the exact same thing that he was mad about before. And I just feel like
hypocritical,
and I don't know, just kind of not happy, I don't know.
Well, I'm not going to argue.
That's just where I'm at.
Yeah,
I don't know. He's not my favorite.
I'm not going to argue with any of those things you said, but here's my opinion on Eli Tomac right now. I think he is the man to beat. He is different.
Yes.
Right now, he is different. We're seeing a different side of him than we've ever seen. Because yesterday in the main event, he got passed. I don't know, it was kind of in the early part of the race, the first 25-30% of the race. He doesn't get the best start. He's like in 4th or something. And Ken Roxon gets a worse start in like 10th. Cooper Webb's in like 6th. And then Cooper and Ken come up and they pass Eli Tomac in the same lap. And it's very rare that we've seen, 2 of the top riders be able to pass Tomac in the same lap. And we were cheering and everything because it was exciting. It was like the most exciting part of any of the racing. Cooper Webb, boom, shows a wheel to Eli Tomac and then gives him the business. And then in the next rhythm lane over, Ken Roxon comes up and passes him. And it was just like, because we, in our family right now, more of us are cheering for Cooper Webb and Ken Roxon than Eli Tomac. And so we're all cheering and it was super fun. And at that point, usually Eli Tomac would have just kind of fallen back. The old Eli. The old Eli kind of would have just given up and settled into 4th or 5th or something like that. This Eli went into freaking beast mode. And you have to appreciate watching it because he's amazing. Then when he passed those guys, when he passed them back like they were
toddlers,
like in the 250 class.
Yeah.
Like he passed them, when he got up to them, he passed them so fast it looked like they were lap traffic. Obviously, they weren't lap traffic because then they were able to just kind of hang on and stay behind him. And Cooper Webb stayed within 3-4 seconds of him the entire time. Roxon fell back about 6 seconds, but he was kind of towing onto Webb. And so they all stayed within about 6 seconds of each other, 6 or 7 seconds. So they weren't lap traffic. But when he put the moves on them, they might as well have been lappers. And that's a beautiful thing to watch. Whether you like him or not, whether you like his personality, whether you like what he's done in the past, when you watch him do something like that, you just have to go like, holy crap, I think that's the best rider on the planet in Supercross right now.
Yeah, and he's pulling it together. He seems like he's, refining and becoming who he's intended to be for this season. And I think that's really neat for him. One of the announcers, I can't remember which one it was, during the race said, is this going to be old Eli? And then he kind of rockets past them. And the comments that they were making about Eli was, he's not going to be just one to just fall back into 4th or 5th. He's going to fight and he's going to win. And so he probably will be our winner this year. And he is the guy to beat. So,
yeah, I think the only way he doesn't win this championship is if he gets injured, which could totally happen. There's so many things that could happen because we'll get to it in just a second with Ken Roxon, but anyone could get injured at any time. And I think that's going to be the way that it happens. If you look at Cooper Webb got 2nd place last night. So maybe Ian Harrison or somebody from the team, they had said that he was looking really good, looking tan and fit and ready and everything. And he's kind of, his body's kind of healed up, and it was fun to see him do well, but Cooper Webb, the reason why Cooper Webb won last year is because he was very good. He was very consistent. He got very confident. And let's face it, Eli Tomac was the Eli Tomac of old. If Eli Tomac, if you could take this Eli Tomac mindset right now in 2020, put it back in 2019, Eli gets his first championship last year and Cooper doesn't.
Yeah.
And so as much as I like Cooper, we've liked him since he was on that Yamaha team back on the 250s. He's got this killer instinct. He's not the nicest guy. he'll say what's ever on his mind. And, but he's a spiritual dude and he's fun to watch. He's fun to watch ride. Sometimes you cringe when he goes through the whoops because it seems like he's going backwards. Sometimes he's not the fastest through that. But corners, man, he can corner. That kid can corner, and he's got a killer instinct
and the rhythm.
And he's good at blocking people when he's on, and keeping people behind him. And he's good at just chasing people down.
And he's got quite a few points to make up, but he could do it. It's not impossible at this point, depending on how each race pans out.
It's impossible doing what he did yesterday. If everything plays out the way it did yesterday, it's impossible. It's out of his reach. He needs Tomac to crash out. He would need Tomac and Ken Roxon to miss at least one race. And that could totally happen. Like next week, you take Adam Cianciarulo right now. He got run over. He basically got no points. Adam Cianciarulo. We'll get to that in a second. If that happens to, well, technically it'd have to happen to Eli. And Ken because he's back so far.
Or mechanical issues.
Yeah, but if either one of them, actually both of them, he needs both of them to have a mechanical issue or an injury. and then he's right back in it. Because if you look at it, even if Coop or Eli Tomac has a problem and can't race one of the races, he's still going to lose to Ken Roczen. So he needs both of those guys to basically get no points in a race. And that's where he's at, because he got essentially no points in Arlington, and that's why he's back 30 points.
Yep.
So he needs that to happen. But it was good to watch Cooper Webb. Ken Roczen, he won his heat race, which was great. And then he just comes out and he lays an egg on the start and gets 10th place on the start.
A bad start.
This is the reason he didn't win that race. He ends up with third, so he ended up kind of salvaging it and bringing it back. But what happened to him on that second to last lap, Karen?
So I can't remember how it started, but off of one of the rhythm jumps, he got cross-rutted, and he ended up on top of the tough blocks. And in one of his, he made it, and he didn't crash, and he survived, which was awesome because it was the last turn. But on his Instagram post, he said that there was an angel on his shoulder on that last turn because he didn't know how he got through it. And Carmichael also said, I don't know how he didn't crash. It must be that core strength or something, because I really don't know how he didn't crash. And so when you hear someone like Carmichael say, that's amazing that you were able to pull out of something like that, I think that's really neat, because that shows how good Ken Roczen is, and his balance and his core strength and all of those things added in together with that little angel on his shoulder, I think really has just saved him, because he could have gotten really hurt there on that first race. So, but he ended up rolling through the last little couple of turns and ended up in third, but I think he did great.
Yeah, that was close. We've seen him take some hard crashes, and he saved that thing, and so it was good. He got third place. It didn't cost him any positions, because Jason Anderson was 20 seconds back, and so he was able to just kind of take a breather and get that down and come away okay. So he got third place. Jason Anderson was in fourth. My question is, where is Jason Anderson mentally? He was the winner of the Supercross Series, the championship in 2018. He got hurt early on in 2019 last year in the one where Cooper Webb ran through it. But we just have not. In 2018, he was so consistent and he was so good.
Yeah.
And we literally have just not seen that since 2018.
Well, he changed up his program. Maybe that's...
Well, just recently. He just recently cut ways with Alden Baker. But that's only been in the last... I think that was during the COVID thing. He was just tired of doing Alden Baker's program and tired of, training with champions. I don't know. But you know what?
Goodness.
But Ken Roczen did the same thing. Ken Roczen didn't, not everyone likes Alden Baker's deal, but you can't really argue with it, because he has produced every champion that we've had so far for the last, 18 out of the last 19 years, for Supercross anyway. This year, if Eli Tomac finishes it, it'll be that'll be the outlier where it wasn't one of Alden Baker's guys.
Yeah.
And so not everyone who goes to the Baker factory, wins. But I can't think of a time where somebody went to the Baker factory and they got worse.
Yeah.
He was training with Alden Baker when he won that championship. Hello.
But in Jason's defense, you got to find something that does work for you. And
sometimes
whatever
you just need
right
change.
Now is not working. So maybe he does need a change. So.
Yeah. And I'm not criticizing Jason Anderson for leaving, the Alden Baker thing.
We just missed the dark horse.
It's freaking expensive too. And all I'm saying is, where is he at mentally, and why haven't you been able to... I'm not even saying you have to repeat, because repeating is super hard. I'm just saying, where are the race wins?
Yeah.
Where are you up there? You should be on the podium every week, or at least, every other week, but you're not, And then last, in the rounding out the top five, you got Zach Osborne. We love Zach. It's so fun to watch him ride. And him and Jason kind of ran their own race a little bit and were fighting back and forth with each other. And I would much rather see Zach Osborne beat Jason Anderson. But
we
anyway.
are Zach fans. We like him. Jack
fans.
We're Zach fans.
It was fun to watch Blake Baggett get out there, get the whole shot, and run away with the first 11 laps. That was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, we like him.
And then Adam Cianciarillo. He was just coming back off of a a collarbone injury. And it was nice because he was, get healthy and everything. Because collarbones,
second fastest qualifier, right?
yeah. He was the first. He was the fastest qualifier for everyone that he went in. Remember at the beginning of the year, he ripped out the fastest qualifier for I think almost all of them. Maybe there was one that he wasn't the fastest qualifier. So I wasn't super surprised that he was, doing well in qualifying. But then Adam has got to just figure out how to not crash, and some guys can't do it. There are guys that have got it figured out. Tomac hasn't really had a hard crash for a long time. Ken's
doing good.
But it's a total skill. Yeah. It's one of those things where Ryan Dungey was the best at that. He never crashed.
He was consistent.
Yeah, he had a couple seasons where he never even tucked the front wheel. And it's just there's a consistency, there's a thing that you and Cianciarulo has to find that. He has had more injuries. There was that we were watching on Swap Moto Live just a little bit ago where he had his shirt off and he was giving a post race this is what happened to me. And just look at his body. You could just see all these, scars from the surgeries that he's had. And he's 21, 22.
Yeah, he's young and he looked like a mess.
Yeah, he looks like a mess because he's always crashing. He's always hitting the ground. And he's got to get that figured out. But what happened is he kind of did a bobble in the rhythm lane and hit his, kind of clipped his front wheel on something he wasn't supposed to, pounds into the jump face. Eli Tomac then has nowhere to go, runs over Adam Cianciarulo's bike, and guess who's charging right behind him?
Cooper Webb.
Has nowhere to go, runs right over Adam Cianciarulo, runs right over his back.
Yeah.
And Adam even said, he's like, it's not Cooper's fault. He had nowhere to go.
Yeah, because he was in the air by the time that Adam was crashing right in front of him.
Yeah,
and then
so
he shot to the left, and that's where Cooper's line was.
Cooper comes down, lands, and has to go right over Adam Cianciarulo's back.
Yeah, and both of them did comment. Cooper in his post
the podium
interview, he said, I really hope he's okay. I had nowhere to go, and I thought that was good because they've had some beef, I guess, in the past.
But none of those guys want to land on someone else and run them over. They know. They've probably all had that happen to them at least at some point. Coming up to this point in your career, it might have been when you were 8 or 9, you've been run over by somebody. To get to this level, nobody wants that.
Ain't nobody wants that.
So anyway.
Yeah. But he did, Adam said that, his back was really hurting. But he did have some
broken bones,
some x-rays, and there's no broken bones. And so he's going to be okay for Wednesday, but he's probably going to have some massive bruising. And
I wonder if he will ride Wednesday.
I think he's got a
2-day turnaround. Well, hey, that's another thing too, because if he comes back and he rides on Tuesday, I mean, we've said it before, but these guys are some of the toughest guys in the world. They're obviously not like NFL linebackers, but what they have to put their body through and the amount of physical conditioning they have, and then just the mental side of this thing, no one is tougher than these guys as far as mentally. You know what I mean? And then just riding through pain. Say what you want. Obviously, you got soccer players, you got football players, basketball players, baseball players, whatever, hockey players. They're all tough in their own way. You know what I mean? But no, I mean, it's really hard to compare what these guys are putting their body through and their minds through to some of these other sports. And especially now where you're going to ask them to do it twice a week, 3 times inside of 7 days, because you're racing Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday. So now you're like, oh, we've had 7 or 8 days, depending on how you're going to count it. And we've had 3 races. NBA players are going to say, hey, we play 3 times a week all the time. Okay. Come out here and try to ride these bikes, So it's a different thing. Obviously, everything is hard. NBA is hard. NFL's hard. MMA is hard. But this is an interesting one. So anyway, should be fun.
Yeah.
Should be fun.
Oh, well, I hope Supercross is back.
Yeah, I hope that they're able to make the track a little bit more interesting for Wednesday, and just keep it drier. Like hopefully they'll be able to figure that out so that we're not keep it drier. Keep it more moist for the main.
Yeah.
Because again, I think they did really well for the qualifying stuff and the heats, but it got too dry there at the 450 main. If they can clean that up, they can figure that out, and then get us a better track that isn't 42 seconds for a lap, I think it'll be awesome.
Yep, for sure. I can't wait till Wednesday. Come on, Kenny boy.
Kenny boy. and you're still, but is Wednesday even 250 East or is it a 250 West?
I don't know.
It might be different 250 riders.
I need to look at that chart.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out. Next time we do this podcast, you're going to need to know like what our next one is.
All right,
okay?
I'll know.
All right, well, thank you for listening. If you guys want to support Dirt Bike Channel, you can do so by using the links for Rocky Mountain AT, which I have. If you go to my website, up in the upper right-hand corner, there is a button there that says links. I have links to Rocky Mountain ATV, Motorsport, and Amazon. You can just go there. You can click on those links, or you can bookmark them. With Rocky Mountain ATV, it's a reference code at the end of the URL that drops away as soon as the page loads. So if you want to bookmark a link or something like that, you can email me and I can give you a link that you can bookmark, and then you can just easily do your shopping with the Rocky Mountain ATV. It really helps me a ton. I know that their shipping times are starting to come back a little bit. They got so many orders that came in with COVID-19 that things got backed up a little bit. That is not the way it normally is. Normally they're super fast shipping. So anyway, thank you guys for using those links. I also still have that Dirt Bike Channel sweepstakes that's going on. I'm entering the final 2 weeks of that thing. So if you haven't heard about what that is, I'm giving away 3 dirt bikes. 2 2020 dirt bikes and 1 2019 dirt bike. If you go to my website, all the details are over there. Every $5 you spend gets you entered into the sweepstakes for those bikes. And
it's a good Father's Day present.
It closes on June 15th of this year. So go ahead and get entered, because you could win a dirt bike. 3 people are going to win dirt bikes, and 7 other people are going to win gift cards. I have the gift cards right over here, Karen, in the closet.
Oh, snap.
Okay, so thanks, guys, and let's leave a single track. Thanks.